Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back. Just Simply Sports here with me. I am Kaja. If you are new here, please hit that like and subscribe button for me. And if you're not new, you've been here, I appreciate you. You guys, Mike Brown has been fired, and I do not understand for the life of me why he was fired. He was just, what, Coach of the Year? What? How long ago? It was not that long ago. And to my knowledge, at least from where I'm sitting, he has brought, or he did bring this franchise back to life from the dead, essentially, you guys. Sacramento Kings have not been relevant since C Webb days. Like, I honestly forgot that Sacramento had a team prior to Mike Brown arriving there and becoming the head coach. I know that they have DeMar DeRozan. I just feel like sometimes I don't know what these GMs, owners are expecting. It takes time to build a winning culture. It does not happen overnight. You look at how long Boston's been together. Look at how long it was before Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum really started to, build that chemistry and make it work. Brad Stevens couldn't do what Ime, if you ask me, is the one that came in and really turned this that franchise around. And then obviously Joe Mazzulla took over after Ime was fired. But it did not happen overnight, so much so they were thinking about trading Jaylen Brown because it wasn't working. And obviously they have top talent on that roster. I don't know if they were expecting that, okay, we have DeMar DeRozan, we have DeAaron Fox, we got Sabonis, so we should be at the top of the pack in the absolutely stacked Western Conference where Ja is back. You have a Clippers team led by James Harden, who has not had any slippage since losing Paul George and having Kawhi out. You can never count the Lakers out when they have LeBron there because he's always going to do or at least try to be able to contend for a championship at this point. You have Steph on that side. It's just there's so many teams on that side. You guys, you got the Nuggets. The list goes on and on. You got the healthy, OKC team. Led by SGA. There are so many great teams in the Western Conference that is just completely stacked with talent. Luka, of course, Kyrie, so much going on. I don't know if they expect, like I said, they expected, hey, we got DeMar DeRozan there, and Fox is just gonna boom, you know, um, NBA championship, of this season. It does not work like that at all. And I feel like sometimes these GMs need to just take a step back, allow things to build, and go from there. Who was lighting the beam prior to Mike Brown being there? Real talk, you guys. I knew they even had a beam in Sacramento, and they got rid of Mike Brown, then they still lost. You know, if you look at all the Sacramento Kings games, to me, they don't have a problem scoring. They have a very strong offensive led team, but on the defensive side, they cannot stop a cold. Their strongest defensive piece to me is Sabonis, and he also can give you offense. You know what I mean? You need him for offense as well. He can't just focus solely on blocks and rebounds and things like that. So when you bring in someone like DeMar DeRozan, you got to also bring in pieces that are going to surround the team in a way that's going to help move them forward. Just because you have two players who can score and who are both talented does not mean that both pieces together are going to work. If you look at the trade from Minnesota, right, and everybody from Minnesota and the Knicks, I was like, why did Minnesota make that trade? Because what they had was working. Look at how far. And it took that team a while to get there, too. Even though they had Ant-Man, and they had Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, questionable depending on how you feel about Rudy. But nevertheless, look at how far they got. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why on earth would they even mess with that? But they did, and look at how they look now. Julius Randle, obviously, to me, is obviously an asset. But for whatever reason right now, it's not working well with Ant. It's just not working. Will it work, let's say, next season, towards the end of the season? That remains to be seen. But right now, it looks like the Knicks absolutely won that trade. Cat is over there doing crazy numbers and absolutely looks like he should be in a running for MVP almost with how great he looks in the Knicks uniform. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves are struggling with Ant-Man. So, hey, sometimes you make these trades and things don't work out the way you want them to. They have to complement each other. It's not just enough to be two talented players. play this. I'm gonna play this clip from DeAaron Fox talking about the whole Mike Brown firing, and then we're gonna come back into it because he said some things to me that had me like, really?
What was the plane ride like? Like, what was it like being there and finding it out, and you all kind of wondering what's going to happen there?
Well, so we left a little bit later because things have to happen. After figure out who the next head coach is and things of that nature. But Doug addressed us before we took off, and after that, the plane ride was normal. I went to sleep.
As a player, like when something happens like this, any pressure or guilt you feel when something big happens, like
Pressure or guilt?
like when something gets fired, do you feel like from a player standpoint?
I mean, obviously, we all know the job that we have. You can be traded at any point, released, cut, fired, whatever it may be. I wouldn't use the word guilt, but that's the nature of the job that we have. But obviously, him signing his extension this summer, we felt like we'd be together a whole lot longer. But that's the decision that they made. But at the end of the day, too, he's still getting paid. It's a great part of being an NBA player, being an NBA coach is those things can happen, but these contracts are guaranteed. So,
All right, so to me, I didn't like it not one bit, and it gave me the impression that maybe DeAaron Fox was behind Mike Brown being fired because I understand you don't feel guilty. Like, I wouldn't use the word guilt if I was asking him as a reporter how he felt about Mike Brown being fired. But for him to say, like, well, this is the world we live in, this is the job we have, and this is just the way it goes, and I lose any sleep, like I went to sleep on the plane. It felt kind of cold and a little bit callous to me. And I'm not saying that he had to cry and boo-hoo about Mike Brown being fired, but that man lost his job. He lost his job. I know he's still getting paid, but it is really, really hard for Black coaches to get opportunities. Sometimes it takes them a while to get second opportunities. They don't just come, you know, every other day, every other season. So when you get an opportunity, like you want to come out, and do your best. And I feel like it seems like Mike Brown holding DeAaron Fox accountable with what happened in the previous game where things kind of went awry in that fourth quarter. I'm gonna play a clip from Mike Brown talking about DeAaron Fox, then we'll come right back.
We told our guys, first of all, if somebody catches and their back's to the basket, foul them. And they dribbled for 8 seconds and we didn't foul them. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, if you're up three, you gotta guard your man at the 3-point line. And there should be no closeout opportunity. No closeout opportunity. We told them that they know the only thing that can hurt us is a three. And I need to go back and watch the film to see exactly where Fox was, but there was no reason for there to be a hard closeout. We were okay with them scoring at 2 at the rim, so you should not be in position to help at all. You should be hugged up to your man at the 3-point line. Everybody should. And why there was a closeout by Fox, I'm not sure. I got to go back and watch the tape.
All right, so you heard from Mike Brown. He absolutely does not come across as the kind of coach that likes to pull punches. He seems like he holds players accountable, whether you're the face of the franchise, the best player on that franchise, in that franchise or not. Me personally, I think you need a coach that's going to hold everybody accountable, hold everyone to a standard. And I know sometimes, I don't know for certain, this is just what I'm thinking, looking. It seems like nowadays the players don't want to be held accountable. It seems like they want all the money and the perks of being NBA All-Stars and first team, all these different things. But when it comes to being held accountable, it's like they don't like it. And maybe DeAaron Fox still felt some kind of way about Mike Brown calling him out in the media about what happened in that fourth quarter. But at the same time, to me, that makes the mark of a great team and a great organization. When you try to pacify your star players, to me, it becomes almost impossible to coach them because they kind of walk around with this arrogance like, I can do and say as I want, and there's no consequences. And then you have a whole locker room. You're a head coach, from my opinion, my perspective, you are leading the locker room of men. And if you allow one person to kind of get away without doing what they're supposed to be doing, then the locker room was looking like, well, hey, you didn't call out DeAaron when he made a mistake, but you're calling out, Keon Ellis when he made his mistake. Like, it has to be fair on both sides to me. And if you're a leader in the face of a franchise, to me, the expectation is that much higher. I think that Mike Brown's the scapegoat for what's going on. It's still early in the season, and who knows what could have happened. They still lost last night. I'm happy for Doug Christie. This is a full circle moment for him, obviously, having been a Sacramento Kings basketball player back in the day and now being a coach, even if it is interim. So maybe he will end up being a great head coach, and I'm not rooting for him to lose the job, but hopefully things can turn around and they can win, so that he'll get an opportunity to stay on as head coach. But this franchise, to me, you got to ask yourself, why has it been so many years since they've been relevant, even prior to Mike Brown being there? And if you look at it, it's not Mike Brown. It's not Mike Brown. And I read earlier that DeAaron Fox has reportedly, requested a trade. So it's obvious, if that's true, that he wasn't happy there to begin with. And maybe them firing Mike Brown was trying to, I don't know, make DeAaron Fox happy and say, hey, we'll do what you want. We'll get somebody new in here. But doesn't look like it, you guys. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But where do you think the perfect landing spot for DeAaron Fox would be if, he really has decided to leave and part ways with Sacramento? Do we see possibly a trade from Miami Heat, DeAaron Fox over there in Miami? Probably not, because they have Tyler Hero, and I don't know how that will work with Tyler Hero being there and DeAaron Fox, because they both obviously are guards. But what do you think about DeAaron Fox becoming a Milwaukee Buck? I know the weather is not great, but hear me out. The Milwaukee Bucks need more help on the offensive side. They just do. It boils down to simple math to me. Your strongest shooting piece is Damian Lillard. Dame is a little bit older, and I love Dame, so there's no shit. They're not going to be able to contend, to me, and beat a Boston team when they only have consistently, and their strongest pieces are Dame and Giannis. You have to have more to beat a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is absolutely shown up and shown out this season, you guys. I did not expect to see what I'm seeing from Cleveland, but nevertheless, here we are. They are writing check, kicking ass, writing checks, taking names. You know what I mean? And for Milwaukee to win, they're going to have more than Giannis and Dame. Brook Lopez is inconsistent to me. Taurean Prince, I'm not even sure why they brought him to that team. To me, he just needs to go, you guys. He just needs to go. To me, you bring in DeAaron Fox, you bring somebody else in that can shoot at will and complement. Hopefully, it will complement, Dame and complement Giannis. You never know. Sometimes those things out take time to build and to work themselves out. But if you get them now, I absolutely think that it will propel you and it'll fall into place before the playoffs coming out of, the All-Star break, when you see most teams start making that push for seeding and things like that in the postseason. I think that it could potentially be a great move in a new city. And again, DeAaron Fox has done enough to be able to contend for a championship. I don't think he's enough on his own to carry a franchise, at least not right now. I think that he needs more around him, and I think that him being there with Dame, just who Dame is, all he's done in this league, being a top 75 player, Giannis being who he is, MVP, I think him being with those two be a great way for him to learn, a great way for him to grow and be able to contend for a championship, because I absolutely feel like Milwaukee is missing something. I feel like that something could potentially be DeAaron Fox. But what do you guys think, though, about DeAaron Fox potentially being a Milwaukee Buck? And if not, where do you think DeAaron Fox should go? And what do you think about this whole firing Mike Brown to me? Because it's absolutely crazy what they do with the NBA, NFL when it comes to these coaches and these expectations just right away. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy, you guys. Let me know in those comments. And of course, I will see you in the next video.